Hello, everybody. This is Gamers and Graphite, and this is Two Man in a Movie. This is Brian.
How you doing, everybody?
And, of course, I'm Jim, and we're reviewing the Stephen King movie, The Dark Tower. Now, of course, for all of you out there that haven't read the books, it's basically a gunslinger, which is kind of a policeman of this fantasy world, chasing after the Man in Black, protecting the Dark Tower. A general... I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things, but we don't have the time. We're going to do a short, concise review of the movie with under 10 minutes.
Central to the story here is the Dark Tower in and of itself. It has to stand. If it falls, all of the worlds throughout all of the universe would fall. And so the...
And darkness and fire. Or as I like to say, Bieber and Kanye.
Sure, we can go with that. So, so the gunslingers, they're sworn to protect the Dark Tower and to keep it standing. And this is kind of the beginning of that tale. So it doesn't try to tell, like often happens with King books, all of the volumes in one made-for-TV movie or in one little mini-series. It's going to turn this into something more like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where there's multiple movies that are going to tell the tale.
I could definitely see them. It would be a smart move for them to kind of... Well, everything's going into a more cinematic universe. You have Kong and Godzilla. They're becoming more of a cinematic universe. You have... The Mummy with Tom Cruise. They tried to do a cinematic universe. I think that's going to fail horribly. That's for another review. And then you have the Marvel and the DC universes, which look like they're going to succeed pretty well.
Yeah, it's kind of the new pattern.
Right. And I mean, King did the whole literary universe with his works. So, Brian, what do you think of the protagonist itself, Idris Elba?
You know, when you told me, 2 years ago, you told me that he was going to play the role of Roland, and I just could not wrap my mind around Idris Elba playing that role. Reading the books, spending years kind of dreaming about this and what it might look like, and even I think in the works it references a Clint Eastwood-esque figure, and so it was just so hard to wrap my mind around before watching it. But in the movie, it was so natural, and he really just exudes that character. I can't think of anybody that I think would have done a better job playing that role.
Right. With Idris Elba, when I heard that he was being cast, I had my doubts at first, but seeing some of his other roles, Luther in the BBC series Luther, I mean, he plays that more nitty-gritty kind of a detective character. And then seeing him in The Office was kind of an interesting... He played Charles Wallace.
Yeah, not Wallace.
No, Charles...
I've forgotten his last name. David Wallace was the guy that hired him.
Charles... anywho, it doesn't really matter. But seeing him as Roland Deschain... Yeah. The last in the line of Eld, the last gunslinger, he was marvelous. He was everything you would want him in there. As soon as I saw that first trailer, I knew he was going to do a good job.
Yeah, the trailers really had me kind of convinced that he was going to do a good job.
Right.
I still was having a hard time really deciding if he was going to be able to really pull it off.
Right.
But in the film, there wasn't moment one where I thought, is he really Roland? He just owned that role.
Yeah. Really
had it.
What did you think of the antagonist? Matthew McConaughey, Walter O'Dim, Walter Paddock, Randall Flagg, the Man in Black himself.
McConaughey can play so many roles.
Yeah.
And he has this cadence and this persona that kind of carries through in a lot of roles. It fit very well.
It's a lot different than some of his other roles. You don't really see McConaughey as the evil guy. And in this film, he was pure evil.
Well, he did the series for HBO, The True Detective or something.
Oh, I never saw that one.
And I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't have HBO, but when I travel and I'm on the road for work, there's moments where you really question, is he the good guy or the bad guy? So I've seen some of those elements out of him, and you're right. In this film, he is the embodiment of evil.
But you like him. I liked Walter. I thought, like, there was really no character development for Walter himself. It was one thing and one thing only, to destroy the tower and to make Roland suffer. And in those regards, oh man.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you question, is he death? Because he has that line where he says, in the end,
death
always wins. And he's talking about he's going to win, and even if he doesn't, he still wins because death wins. And so it kind of makes you wonder, is he like, if you don't know the books and you haven't read the books, it's like, is he the angel of death? Is he death itself?
Well, and I think he is, just in the literary novels, The Stand, for instance, he plays Randall Flagg. Mm-hmm. Same character, and he is death incarnate himself. But I think that's pretty interesting. And I guess the question is, if he is death, the angel of death, can you kill death? And that's what Roland is trying to do.
And it's the great thing about King, right? He makes you wrap your head around these questions. Can you kill death?
Right.
To go back to Matthew McConaughey, I think he did a phenomenal job. He really did embody evil.
And to go along with your point about death, spoiler alert, if you don't want any spoilers,
stop now.
Stop now. You've just had it. In that scene where you see Roland's father die, everything switches off for Roland. He just shuts down. I mean, he's no longer a gunslinger at that point. He's driven by vengeance against Walter. But really, if you think about it, he gives up his creed. He gives up his status as a gunslinger. He just wants death itself.
Well, but the thing is, it's from the very get, it's a departure from the books.
Exactly. King said it was a sequel to the books, which in that fact, it is very much a sequel.
Yeah. So it takes over where The Dark Tower, the last book in the series, left off. Mm-hmm. And not even really because it leaves off with the whole thing resetting. Sorry if you already warned about spoilers.
Ka is a wheel.
Ka is a wheel, which the phrase, I was looking for that phrase and it didn't show up, but let me back up. When we meet him in the first book, if you read the books, he's already the last of the gunslingers.
Right, yeah.
In this storyline, you see his father die at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Without having any resets at the tower, without having it been ages ago or eons ago, whereas it's kind of in the books, it was this long ago event that he's been for years and years and years alone.
Yeah, because the gunslingers are pretty much almost immortal, not really.
Right.
Well, Roland at least is ageless.
Yes.
You don't know his exact age.
Yes. So it's a departure in that his father's even alive to be killed in the first place, and then when his father is killed, he's no longer the stoic gunslinger who stands by his creed. He's driven, like you said, by absolute vengeance.
Right. And the character arc for Roland is really well done. They use Jake more than I thought they would use Jake. I thought it would focus more on the gunslinger, but they really focused on Jake a lot. Which Jake was a great actor. He did really great. I can't remember who portrayed Jake, but it was a little bit different than in the books, because in the books he was kind of that rich kind of kid. Mm-hmm. He still had his dad. He still had his mom. And in this one, it kind of
his storyline was a little different.
The storyline was different, which is the phenomenal thing about this series as being a sequel. You can change things, such as Idris Elba,
right,
in black instead of white. I mean, it all resets. It all is different. So where was I going with this?
You're talking about Jake and how much they use Jake.
Yeah.
And I really felt like they did a great job with that.
Well, yeah, because they made Jake kind of show Roland's humanity. You see him, he's this very stoic guy. He'll kill pretty much without any kind of hesitation at all. He meets Jake, and as the two kind of go along the trail, you see Roland's humanity starting to peak around the vengeance that he is what's driving him.
Mm. And he returns to his creed. He returns to becoming the stoic gunslinger that he's portrayed, that he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually really kind of concerned I was concerned they might use Jake too much in the movie. Right. Because that seems to me to be a way to cheapen and soften the story to make it not the story that we all know and love from King.
Yeah.
So when I saw they were using Jake, I was really concerned that they were going to change it too much.
Yeah.
But I think they did perfect. And,
yeah.
Going into the movie and hearing that it was going to be an hour and a half,
yeah,
I was concerned that they were going to shortchange us. And when we walked out of the theater, not at all.
I think with the story, with the movie being an hour and a half, which was a pretty big controversial thing.
Because who makes an hour and a half movie now?
I think Stephen King was right when he said it's just the bare essentials and no fluff or filler, and I don't think they could add anything else to make that movie better than my expectations.
You know what gets added oftentimes to movies that really drags them out?
Huh.
Is they'll take a fight scene that should be 30 seconds.
Oh, slow motion.
And they slow-mo it and they turn it into a 15-minute affair.
I.e. Resident Evil.
And, well, I'm not going there. But they didn't do that. They didn't cheapen the fight scenes. The fight scenes that were there felt like they were
fantastic.
They felt like they were at real speed.
Yeah.
There was slow-mo in it, there's no doubt. When he comes around, everybody's seen the preview where he comes around and he's reloading it as he runs it around his belt. That's slowed down enough so you can see those things happen, because otherwise the effect is lost. But it's not a slowed down thing where it's drug out.
If you want to see a good example of slow motion in this movie, it's where Roland is trying to sense where Jake's at in the Manny village. And he's sensing it. You see the blood dripping from the guy. You see like the wrench banging against the... It's in the trailer if you don't... Right. But they drag it out a little bit, and that's an excellent tool for
They've
slow
done a great
motion.
job. And that's not even slow-mo so much as
it's
slowing the timeline down a little bit so you can get a sense of what's he doing, what's happening, and then when he does it, it's executed excellently.
Oh, man.
The whole... So coming out of the movie, when the credits came up, we both said, excellent.
Excellent. I even texted to my friends the best film I've seen all year, and I think for me, I've seen like Logan and Kong and some other films, Spider-Man. For me, being such a Stephen King fan and seeing other Stephen King movies fall along the wayside and not be as good as the books, I think this film is equal to the book. In my opinion, this movie is on par with the book.
It meets the challenge of the book,
and that rarely happens. It rarely happens.
On the few occasions it does, I think they're movies that were really standalones, not really part of the Stephen King universe. Thinking of The Green Mile.
Yeah,
is an excellent movie.
Green Mile,
Shawshank Redemption, excellent movie.
Redemption was great.
But those were movies that you don't have to know they're Stephen King to just enjoy those as movies. Those are movies that were executed just for the movie itself, not to be a Stephen King movie.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. The Shining was great. One of the movies that I'm talking about are examples. I know some people like it, some people don't. Cell was terrible in my opinion. We won't get into that because we've already gone past the 10-minute mark. So what did you think of the ending?
So it was excellent. And I don't want to give away too much. We've already had a couple spoilers, but I want to say it ain't over till it's over, and they've done a great job of setting up that this is going to be part one, and there's more to come.
I've heard that it's supposed to be a trilogy, and I will say, we were talking on the way home. Brian was saying the one thing that he didn't like was the way the Doomsday Machine was blown up. And I will agree with him because you see that happening a lot in movies. You see it in Suicide Squad. You see it in The Avengers Age of Ultron. You see it a lot in films, and
They build this doomsday device that you can't, and I'm not talking this movie specific, that you can't defeat without a nuclear weapon, without some major thing, right? And then when you come in at the end, you got a gunslinger and he's got a 45. I don't know that it really is up to the task of destroying the machine, but leave that as it is. Leave that as it may be. That is my only complaint, is that the way they destroy the machine at the end, the way they overcome the big danger to the tower at the end,
right.
was a little shaky. But that's the only ding I had against the film for what it was. So I'm thrilled.
Where would you see? Because if this is going to be a trilogy, and there's 8 books, where do you see the way I see the second one panning out? You didn't see any. You saw mention of the Crimson King. Crimson King is the big bad baddie in the book series.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler alert, Walter is assumed to be dead at the end of this movie. I don't think he's dead.
There's no way. There's no way.
Because, of course, we've all been conditioned to stay after the credits to see if there's any scene. There's no end scene, but you hear a whistle. And everybody, the whistle is
was associated with him throughout the movie.
It's Walter's niche, or
his signature.
Trait.
Yeah.
So he's going to come back. You didn't see any blood coming out of the wound in his head,
right,
which they focused on.
Right.
They zoomed in on it, and he's not dead. I kind of wanted him to twitch his eye a little bit, but I see what's happening in the second one. You're going to see Eddie and Susanna and Roland training them to be gunslingers, because his quest for the tower is going to be reignited since he's now a gunslinger. Again, fully.
So the storyline, with there being 7, 8 books, whatever, you have too much story to tell in 3 movies.
Right.
So I don't know how and what. So there's a couple books that were like flashbacks, and there's so side stories. I still think there's too much there for 3 films, even 3 films in a TV series, if there's talk of that.
See, I think the TV series, the 4th book, Wizard and Glass, was pretty much Roland telling the tale of his first love, and you'll see that as a flashback, and I think that's going to be in the television series.
Sure, and that could be.
Yeah.
But my point is that I think there's too much story.
There is too much story.
And too much of it that's going to be really important to King fans.
Right.
To really cut out. So I hope that this movie becomes a smashing success. I hope it receives a lot of support.
Yeah.
And in that way, maybe the script writers for films 2 and 3, or for the guys with the bankroll who are supporting all this, see this as an opportunity to really tell the story the way it needs to be told. And we can stretch this out from 3 films to probably 5. I think is a realistic target to tell the whole of the Dark Tower series.
I think I agree that there should be more movies. I think a trilogy would be all right if they're planning a TV show. I think what we're going to see is Eddie and Susanna, the drawing of the 3, them becoming gunslingers. Because they still have the Taheen, they still have the Crimson King to deal with. You're going to see the Crimson King at the end of the 2nd film, probably resurrecting Walter.
You're going to have to see it at the end of the 3rd film as well.
Well, I
think
think
King is going to,
or
the last film, whatever.
If they have the Netflix series, if they have the television series as a prologue, the 3rd film you're going to see Roland blowing the horn of Eld at the Field of Roses.
Mm.
That's going to be like the final. And if this movie, my prediction is they're going to have a big bad battle with the Crimson King at the tower. Patrick from the books is going to be Jake, because he's already demonstrated the drawing, the shining. He's got it all. He's going to be the key to destroy the Crimson King. Eddie and Susanna, they may live, they may die. Their survivability is not key to the plot as far as Roland getting to the tower.
Right.
It's going to be Jake and Roland.
So you're going to have
So basically, you're gonna have Roland blowing the horn of Eld, which was different, and you're gonna have at the end of the 7th book, it was all Roland by himself,
Mm-hmm.
and his passion to enter the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're going to have Eddie and Susanna and Jake, his family, his quartet. You're going to they're going to be the driving force that keep Roland from entering that tower.
To protect it and keep it standing, not to enter it.
Right. He's going to blow the horn, and that's probably the last thing you'll see. I'm thinking.
Yeah, or maybe some sort of mystical, reincarnation of his father and the people that he's lost along the way.
Right.
Some resetting. So it'll be something along those lines. But hey, by the way, just to kind of wrap this up and bring this to a close,
we got to make this.
I love the film. I hope you go and see it twice.
Out of 5 stars, what would you say?
A solid 4.
Solid 4.
Maybe 4.5. It is a very good movie. It's not it's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very, very good film. I loved it. You?
Oh man, I'm gonna say between 4.5 and 5, just because, like I said, it's the best film I've seen all year. It makes me want to go read the book again. There's so many Easter eggs, similarities to King's work, and the best thing of all, it rivals the book as far as quality.
The quality of the story.
The quality of the story.
A good story.
The action scenes were great. Cinematography was great. Directing was great. The only thing I would say niches it is the end where the Doomsday device, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
Hey, thanks for watching.
This has been two guys in a game, 2 guys in a movie with Brian and Jim. And we will see you guys later. Remember to hit the like button, the notification bell. That way you get a notification every time you see.
As soon as there's a new one.
As soon as there's a new one. And leave a comment. What did you guys think of the film?
Subscribe and like, guys.
Subscribe and like. Thanks, guys.